call this public session to order, and will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, changes to the agenda.
I have a change.
Okay.
I'd like to add a waiver for the bidding process for copier purchase, with the understanding that the bid will be awarded to Conway, as we have a long-term relationship with that company.
Okay, so we're going to add that to discussion.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Then just before we go to public comments, I want to acknowledge that it's Teacher Appreciation Week and that School Nurses Day is next week, I believe. So we want to say from the board, thank you to all of our teachers and our school nurses. We know that this year has been a challenge more than most years, for sure. But, you know, we're pleased with the way people have been coming and doing, and we're happy now that everyone that can be has been vaccinated and they're gone through their 2-week period, and that we have about 6 weeks left to school, and we are looking forward to the strong end of the year, the strong finish. So thank you very, very much to all of our teachers and our nurses for everything you do and have done and will continue to do to make this year the best it could be. Thanks. Okay, public comments.
All right, so public comment section is the same as normal. We just for purposes of discussion have linked the public comments policy to our agenda, just so that people are free to be able to read that over. But essentially all I have to say is first and last name and town of residence. If you would like to make a public comment, please use your hand raise feature in the attendee window and we'd be happy to recognize you. All right, I'm not seeing any public comments.
Okay. Well, we'll go on then to the superintendent's report.
So as Marcia stated, we have about 6 weeks of school remaining in this school year. We're still putting together summer programming for academics and activities and so forth for our learners. We've had a little bit of a difficulty trying to recruit individuals who want to work in those areas during this time frame, but we'll keep on working at getting the right personnel to do the work that we need to do this summer. When we consider summer and the work that we need to do, summertime is a great time to work on curriculum work. So as we will be talking about in the next month and a half, about 5-year planning and going forward with measurable outcomes and so forth. One of those items is making sure that we are developing a culture of literacy, and literacy is a broad term. Literacy can talk about mathematics literacy, it can be talking about reading, writing. That's where certainly a focus needs to be. And it could be on a variety of things, such as technology as well. Be literate in those areas, literate with your own self-wellness and so forth. But we know that cleaning up and kind of finishing off the foundational documents that are within our K-12 math, our writing are very close to being done. Reading is a very complicated area. I've recently just sent out to some administrators throughout the district just a 20-30 page document on the intricacies of reading across the K-8 spectrum, never mind 9, 10, 11, 12, where a lot of that in the public school system is supposed to be more technical oriented, but the reading is such a deep and intricate process and has to be explicitly taught. We have a lot of work to do to make sure that we adequately do write our curriculum the way it needs to be done so that it is accomplished. And of course, everything stems from those areas as well. But there will be curriculum work done in art, STEM, careers. We've talked about them already, new courses that are being developed. Just a little bit of an exciting situation. I was in a conversation last week, or maybe it was the end of the week before, having to do with some of the art classes. We've changed up some of the art offerings next year to offer digital photography and a few other things that we haven't ever done before. And the signups for these courses have been off the charts, and that's good. It's also something we have to watch for in the future to make sure that we are offering everyone's getting what they want, and so that's important. So I'm excited about that, but we have some curriculum that we actually have to develop in order to make sure that that takes place, and we do so in a robust fashion. Other summer work really comes around the other area of not the philosophical or the curriculum or the instruction aspect of things, but the facilities that we all enjoy and we use for the educational process. And so I won't go through everything. We're doing quite a bit of work this coming summer on parking lots. We're putting a committee together. By Wednesday, I'll have communicated with a group of individuals who have selected to be part of a short-term committee to focus on some future planning within our school district relative to bathroom renovations, potential other upgrades in the area of the arts or athletics, things of that nature. Other things that have definitely happened already this past week. We have new phone systems. So we took a 2-year process of getting our phones updated in this school and then also then at the elementary schools. Not saying we didn't have some problems today, but they're going to be worked out as any new system is. And so, for instance, right at this school now, I can pick up that phone if I wanted to, and I could contact everyone across the entire district. So they're all together now, whereas that was not the case before. Did a few things that need to be done over at the RMS, having to do with duct work, air circulation and so forth, as well as filling up some areas that should have been filled up perhaps a little bit before, some empty tanks that were underneath the ground. We took care of it certainly before it became a problem, but we did that. There was a physical inspection that the New Hampshire Department of Education did of our school building at RMS, I think last Thursday, I believe it was. I don't have the report yet, but I was told it went well. Very, few items that we have to address, which is nice. And I think that's about it for now.
All right. Any questions for Ruben on this report? All righty.
The only thing I see up here as I'm looking at it that maybe is inaccurate is I did drive by JGS today. I wasn't here last Thursday and Friday, so evidently they did get the split wood rails done at JGS, so that separate the gravel parking lot from the paved parking area and another area as well. So that has now been done.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're on to the consent agenda. I need a motion. Yes.
I guess there's one more thing I'd like to add to the consent agenda.
Okay.
That's a budget transfer
Okay.
of $5,000 from tuition, private, other schools, and printing to graduation rentals and graduation supplies.
All right. Thank you. Anything else on the consent agenda, or are we ready for the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
All right. Thank you, Charlie.
I'll second.
Alicia. Thank you. And I don't have to do roll call. We're all here in the same room. So all those in favor, aye? Aye. Oppose, abstain. Great, it carries 7-0-0. All right. So we're on to the discussion. So we have two things under discussion. One is HVAC and the other is the waiver for the bidding process for the copiers.
Oh, we'll start with HVAC.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay. So just an update from the HVAC. The facilities committee has been sent some information from EEI. I mentioned them in my superintendent's report. EEI is the organization or the company that we had our energy efficiency agreement with. We have a plaque actually right outside this building. They're the ones who helped put in the new wood system over here, the wood pellet system, the wood chips, yep, and then also the propane, updated all the lighting, putting new controls for all of our air handling systems and all of that. So there is typically, when you talk about doing any significant work, and we talked about waiving a bid process, possibly in the next discussion topic, there's a process that you have to go through that takes quite a bit of time in order to award a bid and get all the information coming our way beforehand and advertising and so forth. And so we're in a unique time frame where the federal government has provided schools and also some towns with some funds to be able to use for a variety of things. Some of it's building related, educational related, what have you. And a lot of school facilities are choosing to upgrade certain aspects of their buildings. A hot topic is the HVAC system. So we're a smaller organization than some, for instance, like Manchester or Nashua, places that have to probably plan out years in advance in order to get all this work done and find someone to be able to do it. The state, maybe the federal government, but the state for certain has waived some of the bidding processes as long as we've had a energy or an agreement before with one of these companies. And so we have recently had a bid process that was awarded, legally to EEI. And so we asked EEI to give us some information about what it would do, what it would cost, and maybe some ideas of what would be best practice in replacing or changing our HVAC system at these 3 schools. And so last week, I think it was Thursday, I got the email that showed about 2 or 3 different types of approaches that you could take at the different schools, whether you're changing some items out in kind, like, just swapping basically old for, new, and or upgrading anything. Upgrades might mean that you add dehumidification. You could change and not do dehumidification. For instance, if you added dehumidification, there's a significant increase in cost to putting that in. There is some increase to the usage, the energy usage, but I do have confirmation that you can turn on and off the dehumidification part of the HVAC, the rooftop units and so forth. So it's not something that has to run all year long, which was a concern of mine early on. And so there are some different recommendations that they provided that that the facilities committee has to mull over more. And that's all I have to say, except that if we want to move forward with some type of project like this for this summer, we would have to act fairly quickly. Again, we just got the information that we needed and have been requesting. So I don't know if any other facilities committee members want to add anything to that or even more specifics.
John?
Sure. It seems like we're well on our way to coming up with a good use for the ESRI money.
I think there still are a few questions that we'd like to go over. John, working with EEI, has already answered a number of our questions about the cost. And it's looking like what Mike and EEI have proposed is, probably going to be a good solution. Like I think our hope is to have one more facilities committee meeting before we. Well, I'm going to say it's my hope that we have one more facilities committee meeting before we make our decision. And I think, Ruben, and maybe you can verify this for me, but I think that our next meeting would be soon enough for us to allow Mike to move on and schedule us for the summer.
Right. So originally, Mike, who is the gentleman from EEI who represents EEI, yeah, he's the engineer who represents them, and I think does a little bit of the selling kind of to the different organizations around the area and throughout the state. EEI is very popular throughout the state of New Hampshire and throughout New England. He certainly would like a decision sooner than later. Tonight was our original target, but that was when we thought we were going to have information a week and a half ago. Mm-hmm. So using that same time frame of just having received this, and maybe by the end of this week we can have a facilities meeting, maybe or at the very latest at the beginning of next week when John's back, to be able to kind of dissect and look over everything would be a good opportunity. There's a couple of things that we could do. The board could award the decision-making process to the facilities committee. That would save some time. Or we could wait until our next board meeting to make a decision. That would be causing us perhaps a little bit of tightness if we did that. And then if we were to, for instance, have a facilities committee meeting on this Friday or next Monday, and then hold a special board meeting to make a decision, that's another option. That's up to you guys. But my thought process is that the facilities committee has 3 board members on there and is delving into it, but giving them the authority, the 3 board members on the committee, I should say, the authority to go forward would be my recommendation. And just keep us updated as we go.
Right. So if there's not any other questions or comments about that, then the question does become, do we want to make a motion around giving the facilities committee the decision-making for this item?
I'm on facilities, so.
Yeah, I know you can't.
So
I know that. I'm looking.
As am I can make the motion.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that the facilities committee be granted the decision making. What do you need me to say, Marcia?
Yeah,
powers
sure.
to move forward with EEI.
I'll second. Okay, thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Lisa. Any further discussion? Charlie.
Just like the other board members to know that we're talking at an approximate $4 million relative to decision making that the facilities committee is going to be doing.
Okay. And we know you're very immersed in that and definitely trust that you you're closest to the information. But we would appreciate also if you can continue to update us with progress.
And I'll add that Laurel, former board member Laurel McKenzie, is remaining on the committee until the end of June, beginning of July. So that's added a great attention to the past and the future of it. So that's been appreciated.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion and I have a second, and we're well aware of the scope that we're talking about. So if I can have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Abstain? All right, it carries 601. All right, good. Thank you very much for taking on that responsibility. Next up is the waiver to the bidding process for the copiers. I know, Alicia, when you added this to the agenda, you had a bit that you had to say then. I don't know if maybe you want to reiterate that real
I
quick.
can try to reiterate what I said.
Yes.
So we added this to the agenda based on the understanding that we've worked with this company in the past, and it's been a good working relationship, and we'd like to continue that relationship with them.
Any other discussion on this?
I think that they've been pretty competitive,
Mhm.
and they're used widely by many other districts. So their reputation with other districts, their reputation with us already leads us to believe that the purchasing power of buying, 6 at one time is a better choice for us at this time.
Great. Okay. So I need a motion.
I'd make a motion that we accept the purchase and I guess waive the need for a competitive bid.
Okay. Thank you, John. And I need a second. A second. Thank you. And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, abstain. All right, that's 700. Thank you very much. And next up is the policy.
Second read.
Yes. So someone going to talk to it at all, or they know it's a second read?
It's a second read. Does anybody have any
questions?
questions or wants to make a motion on this lovely policy?
I want to comment and thank the Wellness Committee for their diligent work in bringing this together. It's an incredibly ambitious undertaking to bring all of these elements together under one policy, and the fact that it's 10 pages with many links to appendices is just phenomenal, and I thank them for their effort. It will really benefit the students.
Thank you. All right, then I guess we're ready for a motion.
I'll move to accept the policy as written.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Second?
Second.
Oh.
Christine.
Christine.
Go ahead, Christine.
Okay. She was quieter, but I think.
I waved my hand too. So.
Yes, that's what caught my eye. Okay, so motion made by Lisa, second by Christine. And all those in favor, say aye.
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 And that's 7. Oh, sorry. How about opposed? Abstain? Okay, now I can say it. That carries 700. All right, board committee updates. There's no committees listed here. We've already heard a little bit about facilities. I don't know if facilities has more.
I would add one more thing about facilities. I think Ruben did refer to it briefly, but we very much hope to not only pave the Ringe parking lot, repave the paved part of the Ringe parking lot, but prepare as a gravel parking lot the new section of parking, which was, had the trees removed previously. And it's going to be tight. We want to decide whether to go before the planning board, the Ringe planning board, or whether to have a public hearing here. And because of the timeframes involved, if we have a public hearing, I think, Ruben, it's a 60-day notice we need.
So it's either way. So if we go to the planning board in Ringe, then we do that, and then the construction is to start no sooner than 60 days after that meeting. So their meeting is June 1st. That kind of, that handcuffs us a little bit. It doesn't make it so that it's not completely impossible. If we were to have a public hearing, that's the other choice. For instance, we could start next school board meeting with a public hearing about that parking lot area. We have a little more responsibility on our part about notifying the abutters and so forth, things of that nature. We have time to, advertise that so that we could take care of that here. That would buy us about 15 days or so, which could be beneficial because the goal would be certainly to do that portion prior to the paving over at RMS, and that's currently set for the end of July, beginning of August.
Right.
So it sounds like the smarter thing there would be for us to, there aren't that many butters for that property, are there?
There aren't too many, and we'd have to, we'd probably get some help on making sure that we don't miss anyone. But I was planning on starting that conversation, that process tomorrow to get things rolling. Part of that would be just talking about with facilities people exactly how we should move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to want to be nimble with it because the drainage issues are important. That's the major thing. We want to make sure we get that right, and also that we honor the the rights of the people involved, to be informed and to have chances to provide input.
Right. All right. Thanks. Any other committees that have met?
Policy has not met in April, but we will plan to stick to our regular schedule and meet the 4th Thursday of May, which I believe is the 27th.
Okay. Thank you. Nick, sorry, I saw you raised your hand. Did you have?
Yeah. Sorry. Feedback on the headphones. The communication committee also met two Tuesdays ago. Main point of discussion was to go over the communication plan that was implemented June a couple of years ago. We've kind of run into a point where we've reached the end of the timeline of the communication plan. So the next goal over the summer is to kind of work on some new communication related goals. If any of the board members that were there want to speak to, how you feel things are progressing or not progressing, feel free to. Obviously me personally as the person kind of doing a lot of it, I feel like we're doing a pretty good job. I feel like we've either hit or surpassed many of the goals in one way, shape, or form. I think in many ways we've surpassed, and we've actually kind of taken multiple steps beyond. Obviously there's still some steps that need more work. But I think that really it's kind of taking stock of what's happened over the past couple of years, see what advantages or disadvantages happened via COVID, what happens with our new website. I'm told that we should have a first draft of that shortly. They're putting some of the finishing touches on that. When that comes forth, we'll bring that to the communication committee for a first viewing. We've talked about maybe trying to add in some students and other folks, even if only temporarily, to the committee, just to get more kind of faces and voices into that process to make sure that the website is what we want and need it to be. I think those were kind of the two main points.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other committees then? All right, so, I know that when we had new people come on, we configured the committees, and at that point we asked that they come up with a schedule, and then also like who's kind of going to be the chair, who's going to be responsible for minutes, that kind of stuff, and make sure that Nick has all that information. And I know some groups have and some haven't. At least this, my knowledge says some haven't, some haven't. So I just want to remind groups for that, and then also coming up with a schedule, because we had a schedule, but because we reconfigured people, we may need to reconfigure schedules again to accommodate the new people in the new schedules. So just a reminder. All right, thank you. Now we're at public comments. We have some public. Hi.
Hi. So I'm here because I have 2 of my kids out of school, 2 in public school. Hoping that some of the restrictions are lifted, I'm getting ready to.
Who and where she's from?
Oh, sorry. All my kids. Sorry. My fault. I didn't give Nick a chance to say his spiel, but he always says, please say your name and the town you're from. So people who don't see you can't know.
All right. So I'm Stacy Sepola and I'm from Ridge. And I was starting to gather some information so I could get my homeschoolers back into school. I came up on some information, so I have a write-up that's pretty, it's just 1 page that I'll write up so I can get to the point. To whom it may concern, and this should concern everybody, it has come to my attention that the Jaffrey Ridge Middle and High Schools are undergoing some changes that are concerning and even better described as alarming. We have recently found out that several teachers have been let go and will not be returning to the district in the fall. After some investigation as to what prompted these decisions, the findings are raising some red flags. The decisions being made by our principal and superintendent to let these teachers go are a real threat to the well-being of our students and school climate. Some of the teachers being forced to leave are among the most respected and appreciated teachers, and not just by the students and parents, but highly respected among the staff here at the school. The most alarming part, nobody has any idea why they're being let go. The only answer given is we are going in a different direction. Middle and high school are some of the most pivotal years in a student's life. These years can be hard and challenging. These teachers have gone above and beyond the call of duty to create stability and certainty in the well-being and education of our children. By dismissing these teachers, you are taking away some of the only stability and certainty left inside these walls. Not to mention, you decided to do it in the middle of a pandemic when all they are faced with is change. This is a direct threat to the well-being of our children. In my short time spent trying to get some answers, one thing became abundantly clear. The climate in these 2 schools have become so toxic since the start of this school year. Most staff members come to work every day afraid of losing their job, especially now. These teachers should absolutely not be teaching under these circumstances. It is not fair to anybody for them to be under this much stress. They should be focusing on teaching and not worrying about whether they need to have a backup plan in case Mr. Dustin has decided they made a mistake that day. Whatever direction Mr. Duncan and Mr. Dustin are thinking of going in, we are not interested. The bottom line is this: something has to be done, and quickly. The superintendent and the principal have made some detrimental mistakes, and the small window of opportunity to turn this dumpster fire around is rapidly closing. The number 1 concern here is the well-being and education of our children, and it is in grave danger. We are asking that you seriously reconsider some of the directions or some of the changes and direction in which you are thinking of going. Sincerely, many concerned parents and teachers. I have had teachers approaching me, begging me to do something.
Thank you.
And I have, if anybody wants to read this in depth, I have copies.
Hi. My name is Kim O'Coin, and I'm currently a resident in Jaffrey, and I'm a teacher at JRMS. I really just want to be heard. I wanted to take this opportunity to speak up for myself and hopefully other teachers in the future. During one of the last board meetings, there was a list of recommended renewals for teaching. There was not a list of non-renewed teachers, and I would assume that's for privacy reasons. I am one of the teachers who was not renewed this year. When I met with Ruben after my 5-minute Zoom call from David to let me know I was not being recommended to come back, he told me this is a quick and quiet process. He explained to me that basically they will make a recommendation to him. He'll approve it without question. He then makes a recommendation to the board and they just approve it with whatever he recommends. I'm here to say this system is broken. I've been in this district for 8 years. And of those, a contracted teacher for just a few months shy of 5 years, which most of you know is just a few months shy of tenureship. And there is no question from the board or Ruben on why I'm not renewed. One man who has been the principal for one COVID year of teaching and has done one 5-minute observation of me holds my future in his hands with no discussion. I thought a recommendation was just that, a recommendation for others to look into and not blindly agree with. I was just told I am not, no longer a good fit and we're moving in a different direction. Why can't you guide me to fit like a leader should? Or tell me the direction you want me to go in and guide me like a leader should. I want you and the community to know that this year's working conditions have been vastly different than any other teaching year I've ever been through. The climate in our district has been more toxic than ever. Teachers are working under extreme circumstances and many unknowns. Only for some of us to fear for our jobs with every decision we make. To be judged on remote teaching with no training is unfair. To be told to teach what we can and to keep social emotional awareness as a priority and not be treated with the same respect and grace that we treat our students with is also unfair. My evidence, Mr. Dustin, our principal, told me to teach, and I taught with passion. He told me to show grace, and I showed strength through a tough year meeting students where they are. He told me to create relationships, and I did it so well, they come back to visit me. He told me to persevere and to teach them to persevere. And when it was hard, I never gave up on them, and they never gave up on me. But yet, being the principal for 1 year through COVID with one 5-minute observation, you never took the time to teach me. You've not shown me any grace through the trials of this year. You're giving up on me as a teacher. And you never once tried to create a professional relationship with me. If my non-renewal has anything to do with poor teaching, why didn't anyone reach out this year to at least discuss it with me? If it has to do with something COVID related, where's the grace and slap on the wrist you showed and gave all the sports teams this year? I'm a great teacher, and I believe you guys made a big mistake letting me go.
Thank you for coming and sharing with us. Going forward here, there's we have a policy about naming people in public on personnel things. So if there are more comments, I just want to remind people of that policy that no names.
Fair enough. Yep. I do have just one small comment. The teachers that I spoke to were not hurt. I had other people approach me, just so that's clear.
I'm Hvac from Ringe, New Hampshire. And I also have had different teachers, or not just teachers, staff members reach out also concerned, not being let go, but just concerned of the atmosphere over at Conan. I have 2 children, one's graduating, one's going into Conan. I also have 2 that were pulled from the public school system. I was wanting to put them back into the public school system. I'm hearing there's lots of changes over at our elementary school in Ringe. This is very concerning. I said we have chaos over at Conan with teachers being let go. Now we're gonna disrupt our school at the elementary level. This is very concerning. That teachers and staff members would be reaching out to parents asking for help. I don't know. I guess, I don't know if you're aware or if you're not, So I guess that's where we are here today, to ask for your help. And also that administrative high up, I will mention names, that are seeking employment elsewhere. That's scary to me, because do those people that are seeking elsewhere, do they care about what's going on? Because they're going to wash their hands of it and move on. So please be aware and please help.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Just want you to understand that I personally can't have a discussion with you because as a board member, okay, I don't represent the board. In order for the board to decide anything, even to reply to you, what our response would be, would require a vote of the board. So what you're saying is not bouncing off of people who don't want to listen.
I understood.
We hear you, we understand you, but there's not much that we can say about it. Although I will say one thing, probably out of turn saying it, and that is we probably know more about the circumstances than you do. So, and I personally know that I can't share that. So the only thing I can say is that I do know a lot more about those situations you're talking about, and I can't share that because of the personnel constraints. So,
Legalities.
thank you. We are listening. All of us are listening.
All right. Board matters. Is there any board matters? Okay.
One thing I'd like to say, Nick, you know those game show have those red buttons you bang so that you can. Can we have those so when we make a motion or a second?
All right, and we have our future item of the technology plan. I know there was an update.
Yeah, we give little updates every single time.
Yeah.
Right now, we're still working on planning, but the updates have more to do with actually a combination of communication as well as with technology, just the continued work that Leslie, Nick, Mike to an extent are doing on developing forms that are digitized so that we're not sending tons and tons of paper. For instance, the one we were working on today was nursing documents. So looking at, I think we have three of them, for instance, today that Leslie was working on. They ask similar questions at JGS as they do at RMS, and then some similar questions at the secondary level, but none of them are quite the same. So making sure that they're uniform, and so that if a family fills one out, they're done. They're not filling out this one and then this one and this one. So just so efficiency elements to it.
Any questions? All righty. Unless anyone has anything else, I'm open for a motion. John.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, John. Anyone want to second that? Second. Thank you, Patty. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.